Welcome back. Still today on Osrc television. Just like we mentioned before that break, we hit straight into the conversation this morning. And our guest this morning is the convener of Grassroots Enlightenment for Women, Local Women, or Women in Grassroots, as it were, Kemi Ayenumoro. She's a politician, and she'll speak with us on State of the Nation, women participation, and of course, their roles in the scheme of things. Good morning, good to have you.
Good morning.
I mentioned the last time we spoke with you, you were in Lagos.
Yes.
So it's good to have you in Ondo State this time.
Yes. It's good to be live in the studio, and it's good to be in Accra, where I belong, actually.
Okay, yes. Let's talk about how things played out. We're in the post-election season, and so many things are still here with us in terms of the spillover of the election. But let's begin from the area which I know you have so much passion for, that's women. As a convener of the Grassroots enlightenment for local women, for women at different at the grassroots, when you look at what the representation of women or how women fared in 2023 general election, what does that tell you?
Okay, I'll start with a smile, and that shows the state of my mind. I'm smiling because it's a beautiful turnout, I must confess. Looking at the statistics from 1999 till date, we've been struggling with encouraging women to participate in governance. And we were happy today that the federal government, okay, let me put it this way, the party leaders, the party structure at different levels have made it known that they want the inclusion of women in politics. And so it's not a bad turnout. I mean, the results are there for all to see. In Ondo State, for instance, our incoming members-elect, we have 3 women coming into Ondo State House of Assembly, as against the only woman who happens to represent my constituency. In Ekiti State, I'm happy that we have 6 women coming into the legislative arm of government. So the participation hasn't been this beautiful, I really must say. Okay. I know that for a fact in one of the states in Nigeria, before the elections were even, before the results were announced, we already had feelers from social media that we're going to be welcoming a female governor, even if eventually, that was an alarm. And that's to tell you that women are now gradually supporting one another, and we want to evolve. We want to see ourselves make more impact.
But when you take a look at, just like you do it, celebrating the successes, but some say it's like taking, one step forward and 2 backwards. Because let's take a look at what the statistics said here this morning. It said in 2023, 378 women ran for Senate and House of Representatives seat, but only 17 were successful. Now, while all the current female senators are not returning, 7 of the current 13 female members of the House and the Ninth Assembly also lost their re-election bids. So let's take a look at what the current composition in the Ninth Assembly is. In the Ninth Assembly, only 7 out of the 109 senators are women. Aside from the wife of the president-elect, who is Bola Tinubu, and of course Aisha Dairo, the woman running for governorship in Adamawa State, the others lost their bids to return. But when you put all of this together, barring changes, contested results at the court levels and all of that, only 3 women will be in the Senate and 14 in the 360-member House of Representatives. So when you put all of this together, is it not accurate to say we take 2 steps forward and 3 backwards?
Okay, life isn't about our policies all the time. I believe that results can only be achieved when there is consistency, when there is tenacity of purpose, when we know that as women, this is what we want to achieve, and we put our efforts towards that, and we achieve it. Now, let me let you know that I'll teach a little to religion. There are different factors that are inhibiting women from coming out. when you do not have the desired support fundamentally, there is little or nothing you can do. I know for a fact that there are some women who at the point of becoming, who at the point of when they're aspirants, before they become candidates eventually, they get discouraged at some point, especially by their family. And so it all goes to show that we need support. We're drumming for support from everyone, because it's not, trust me, this terrain isn't as easy as we all think. It's not as easy. But for us as women, we know that, I disagree too, absolutely, if you say we're taking 2 steps forward and we're taking about 10 more steps backwards and all that. Life doesn't have to be rosy all the time. And so the fact that we're multitaskers as women, the fact that we're strong people, it's the reason why we want to bring out that strength in us to do more than we're doing at the moment. Things can only get better.
Now, you mentioned family. Away from family, this last election,
yes,
simply put that we did not even get up to 20% of the stipulated 35% derivation. Now, the big question is, are women even supporting women? Because while we all want women to do a lot of things, I see a lot of women campaigning for the men folk. Now, the women come out to say, I want to be a senator. Another woman says, won't this one go and sit down and manage her home? So most of the time, while we women want to be seen in the forefront, some other women are the ones that will say, call the person a feminist. They are the ones that will say, most of the time, I'm sure you even agree with that, some women, single women, in politics, they go through hell.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so the problem is women. Now, how do we change that narrative to make women know that whether married, whether single, whether you are a mother, the fact you are a woman should be supported?
I agree with you that the first protocol, the first thing to do to address here is our mindset. We need to change our mindset about certain things. You made mention of the fact that some of these women are single. We're in a terrain where most of the time the biggest critique of women are women ourselves, and so we're pleading with other women. That's why you see that the grassroots enlightenment thing is what we're really working hard to achieve, such that when you see an aspirant who is a woman like you, I think it should be your primary assignment to ensure that you support such a person. In the course of this last election, we're all aware that some women came out, and the negative comments we heard about some of them was quite pathetic. Even being a single woman might not totally be the woman's fault. As black people, they even stigmatize widows, the widow who lost a spouse, and you're just helpless in such situations. So we should do better as women. We should stop this narrative. We should project ourselves in the positive light and give one another the desired support.
Now let me ask, as a woman and as a politician, do you think Nigeria can ever get to the point of having a female president?
Nothing is possible if we put our minds to it. Nothing is possible.
But do you think Nigerians are ready for that?
Yes, we can work towards it. It's achievable. Life does not have a meaning except what you make from it, what you make of it. And so we should quit crutching. We should stop complaining incessantly. We should just keep assuming, oh, this one. I've said it in interviews a number of times that, just today now, I'm on a live program. A lot of people who know me will probably come up to say, oh, she's this, she's that, oh, she's 6'3", she's intimidated, she bosses men around, she's all bully, she's this, she's that. Some don't even like the fact that I'm dark skinned. Some don't even like the fact that I don't wear long hair and all that. So we should do better, because I believe that whatever we put our minds to do, we can achieve it. There are women in diverse professions in life. Even in crime, women do well.
Now, let me give you an example. On the round table, political round table,
yes,
it's the men that make the rules. It's the men that call the shots. Hardly do we see the women speak up on that round table. Now, the last election, we had a contestant in Lagos State who is also an actress, Funke Akindele. Some women came up to saying that how can you allow a woman without a home to come and lead you? Now, the men folk on that table calling the shots will sit down. I don't know, maybe it's just my mindset, but I keep looking at it. Is it possible that we get to that point where this table will turn? Because again, why I'm calling for women inclusion, some people will look at it that when you give women the power, we've had an experience where she thinks about how she looks. She thinks about what to make of the money that comes in there. Now, people think about that too, because we've had two women that have really made women not to have that. But you cannot use just two people to judge the rest of the women. Now, you're also a politician, and I know you sit on that table with the men.
Yes.
What do you do when you sit on that table?
You influence things positively. You should make your stand known. You influence things positively. You should have a mission. You should have an assignment. You have a goal to pursue, and you will do it with all your strength. And so, if you talk about women influencing, I'll tell you that I know the role of women even in creation. I go back to the history of how Adam was lonely and a woman was brought into the picture. And that's why you and I are on this table this morning. And so as women, it doesn't really matter the number of women at a particular table. Take a home, for instance. And that's the beginning of all of what we're talking about. In every home, the most powerful person at table is the woman. And so do not think, this person came out. I would not want to talk about the contest, the candidate you mentioned, because I mean that would take us into a very, very prolonged discussion. But I'll say briefly that I appreciate and salute her courage. She went through that election. It's a learning curve. It's a process, and I'm sure when next she's going to be when next she's going to bring up herself to serve, she will do better than she has done. And so forget about the song, because the sky isn't blue all the time. It must happen. The beauty of democracy is opposition. It should gear you. Some of these moves, the comments, the songs, the backlash, should propel you to do better. And so failure is still the same spelling as success. Or has the same letters.
So let's, I want to close this conversation about the women's participation in politics here in Nigeria. Out of the 988 seats at the 36 States Assembly, we have 44 women. And I quickly did some math. It says out of the possible 1,403 seats at the state and national level, women have just 61. And that tells you that for this 61, how huge of a responsibility do they have on their shoulders in paving ways for others? What's your thought?
Okay, I'll take that from the angle of religion. I'm a Christian, and this is a season of Easter, right? And out of 12 disciples, just one betrayed his master, right? Now that percentage, I see that you're someone who is in love with statistics. You keep bringing up figures for me. But I'll let you know that in a family of 6, there is most often just a woman. That's the mother. And she influences things. And so I'm not one to be bothered if there are just 2 women at a table of 200 men. For instance, for me, I can actually stand up to make a difference in a hall without the use of the microphone. And so it's not basically about the numbers. It's about what they intend to do.
That's what I'm driving at. For this 61 who are at the state and national assembly.
Yes, they still can prove their mettle.
Yes, what do you think should be their preoccupation in terms of trying to make way for other women, trying to also change the narrative about how the society see the women folk at this time with that position that
okay, I remember that on this program I've had to speak about some role models that we have in politics in Ondo State. And I know that for some of these role models, what they show us, the success they've recorded is the reason why we admire them. Is the reason why other women would like to be like them. The secretary to this government in Ondo State as we speak is a woman. And I know that pretty soon, it's possible we're going to have a deputy governor. We're warming up for the gubernatorial elections in Ondo State. Why deputy governor? You're just in a hurry. You're just in a hurry. Let me finish. I believe that I'm praying and working towards the next gubernatorial elections in Ondo State because I know we're going to have women that will come out to say, I'd like to occupy the Alagbaka house. And so we look forward to that. We're going to celebrate that because we're going to work conscientiously to ensure that is done. That is not to say that the men aren't going to also jostle for that seat, but I look forward to seeing candidates come up to jostle for that.
Let's look at the financial implications.
Oh, yes.
Most of the time, the men have gathered enough. Most women do not have that financial muscle to come up. Yes.
I think that's a personal view.
Most women do not have it. How many women? Because the truth is, as much as people come to say politics, we come out to serve, they also come out to enrich themselves as well. Now we have a very low number of women that have come out to also enrich themselves. How do you expect them? Because now, why do some parties, when they are selling their nomination forms or expression of interest forms, they will say the men will pay this amount, the women folk will pay this amount? Why is it so?
I like your gesticulation. The men will pay this amount, the women will pay this. It is to encourage us. It's a form of encouragement. Because now most times, it's known worldwide now that this gender, our gender, is clamoring for equity. We're clamoring for, we're trying to say, oh, whatever a man can do, a woman can also do. Asisa Toshala is a lady, she's tapping leather. Most men can't even kick the ball, But that point, for instance, is to encourage women to pick up the forms. And aside that, we're also going to pull resources together to support any candidate that is a woman. That's the way to go. If I ask you, as my sister and friend, you're not my colleague, because you do a greater job than I do. You speak day and night. And I'd like to ask you, have you ever brought out your salary? Have you ever brought out some amount to support an aspirant ever before? Be fair.
I'm not a politician. So I'm a journalist. In the course of doing my job, I support people that I'm supposed to support.
You support them with the use of the microphone.
But that's why I'm still asking, why do we have to put the women there? Because it's just for the encouragement. It proves that you ladies don't really have that money. Let's just give it the opportunity.
Oh no, that's not true. That's not true. You mentioned one of the aspirants in Lagos. She wasn't an aspirant. She became a candidate eventually. I'd like to let you know that a whole lot of resources went into that ambition. A lot went into it. So if I pick up my nomination form and it feels cheaper, it's not because they feel I'm low. It is because they want inclusion. They want us to be encouraged to come out to participate in governance. And so for the resources we need, do not forget, for every woman, there is a friend, there is a father probably, there are brothers, a brother's friend, a church member. There are people to support you. It's because you've not made an attempt. If we make attempts, you'll be amazed. And don't have this impression that women do not have money. We're fantastic people. We've got brains.
Interesting. Let's now take, good enough you mentioned Lagos in your last submission. Let's take this conversation to Lagos, because we spoke to you while you were in Lagos before that election. Yes. And trying to gauge the old tension and how everything was playing out right there. Now that the elections are over, just like I mentioned, the spillover effects are still here with us. The DSS coming out to say some persons are, plotting interim government. The federal government accusing some of treason. Some also, championing the issue of hate speech and all of that. So, right now, beginning from Lagos, what's the mood like? What's the atmosphere like post-election?
Okay, I'll start first that success has family, failure has got no family. we first should work on our spirit of sportsmanship. When you lose an election, you should see it as, oh, I could do better next time. Check what has happened, evaluate what you have done, and so you can do better. There can only be one champion. We're not going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 governors. And so the ripple effect of that success isn't going to be beautiful. If I stand here at the moment, if I take a stand now, some people can only see my back view, for instance. Some would see my frontal view. And so the view you have should be your view, but please make it healthy. We've seen a lot is going on at the moment. Phone conversations, a lot is happening. But you see, when someone has won elections and you feel aggrieved, you know where to go to. And so since you're in court, you should just allow the legal process to take its full course. You allow the judiciary to do their work. But it's just unfortunate how bitter sometimes people get because of a loss. And so you do not have to rub your pain in so badly, because I see a lot of people are doing too much. It's an election after all. And if it doesn't favor you in 2023, there is still a long way to go. But democracy is still beautiful and fresh in Nigeria. You still can come again.
But all politicians are like that. No, it hardly do you see one that just says, congratulations, then go home.
Because we're growing. I mentioned that our democracy is still young. We're evolving. It's a process. By the time you know that it is a wasted effort knocking on my door, then you will take your leave. That's what it means. And so if you're flogging a dead horse, you're going to get tired and you will learn your lessons. And so because someone who is probably your predecessor has flogged a dead horse before without getting results, then you will learn your lesson from the ants. You will move on. And so we should learn to play healthy sports.
All right, President Muhammadu Buhari, before the election and even after the election, what he has been saying is the fact that he committed to a credible process. He said he was going to give Nigerians, a very credible election.
Yes.
And now the elections have gone, and Buhari walking the talk of credible election and the things happening afterwards. You participated actively in that process by galvanizing people to exercise their franchise, to be part of the process.
Yes,
from taking a review of how the process went, what are some of the identifiable loopholes you've got that you think we need to work on heading into the next election in this country?
Okay, in the course of that last elections, I'll first start with the credibility of that elections. We all have a right to our opinion, and if some people are crying foul to say that was an incredible election, then I think they know the proper steps to take. But I tell you, the beavers we had this time, it's an improvement on the card reader we had before. So things are gradually getting better. Oh, but yes, it is in our nature as human to complain. I'll let you know that for this program this morning, a lot of people would feel, oh, why bring a woman? Why not a man? Oh, why this? Why that? Everybody's got room to have their own opinion. But I'll say it this way. We discovered some pockets of what we should do better come the next election, and that's one. Those are some of the lessons I learned in the course of working for the success of the last elections in Lagos State, and that's what we're bringing to Ondo State, because we're going to be having a brand new governor very soon. And so for some of the pockets of violence, some pockets of there were a bit of laziness for some who are mobilizers, who didn't really come on the field to begin to speak with the women and encourage them to come out to exercise their franchise. And so we can do better. We're growing on it daily. Once upon a time, I was the little girl who could afford to have a bath in the rain. But if I do that now, I'm sure family meeting will have to be arranged to find out what's really going on with Princess. And so we're growing. A time is going to come that you won't even have to dye your hair anymore because it's gone gray all the way, and you're going to celebrate that growth. And so democracy in Nigeria is growing. It's a process. We will get there. And so people shouldn't act like we're already in heaven. This isn't paradise yet. We're only working hard to ensure that we achieve the best form of governance we have ever in Nigeria at every level, the federal, the state, and the local government. So we can only do better. We can only figure out what we have not done enough, and we improve on it. And that's why we're clamoring. That's why I'm pleading with women that they should come out in their millions. You know, you see the disparity, the registered voters, those that are accredited, and all of that. You see all of the figures, and you keep wondering, wow. So this is the best we can afford to bring up in XYZ state or XYZ local government. So we can only do better with time.
All right, good enough you mentioned the issue of electoral violence and all of that, the pockets that happen. Yes. And when you look at what the conversation post-election is centered around, it's on the election tribunals, who wants to claim what, who wants to reclaim what, and all of that. And we seem not to be, spotlighting the issue of the electoral offenders. Because the police have said, arrested so number of persons, who did something wrong, during the electoral process and all of that. Shouldn't we also be spotlighting that area to serve as deterrent? Because if you're hoping that one day we'll have an election free of violence, but we're not making an example of those who have also found culpable, are we ever going to get there?
Okay, I think one of the basic problems, for everything that has an advantage, there will be a disadvantage. I recollect that there were some videos that were trending where some ladies and young men would put the camera just in their face, and they would keep reporting, oh, there's bloodshed, there's violence, oh, they've killed 200 people. You're not showing us. You're only showing us your face. And so I see exaggerated situations. I mean, at the last election in Lagos, I was privileged to move around, even on the day of election, to check and to have an overview of what exactly is going on, how the elections are being carried out. And I'd like to give you a very personal example that broke my heart. Someone put a call through to one of the security agents to report that very close to where I'm actually parked in my car, that there is report of violence. And so I was called. And when I picked my call, the caller was surprised that I wasn't fidgety and I wasn't ruffled by what is going on, allegedly. And so when he brought up the complaint, I said, okay, let's switch this call to video so that I'll show you how peaceful where I am is. And so some of these media influence, as much as we enjoy it has its own exaggerated influence on this. The law enforcement agents were around. The polling units where I reside, the 3 polling units, we had standby law enforcement agents, and so they should be allowed to do their jobs. This is going to be a slap on the face of, I remember 2 or 3 days before election in Lagos State, and young people were on social media making so much fuss about, oh, I hope military isn't taking over. This number of soldiers is unbelievable. You think the soldiers are there to just watch a movie? They are there to do their work. And so if you claim that they didn't do the needful, then it's a huge indictment.
So from your submission, it appears, citizens themselves are also sabotaging the process from what you said. So perhaps there should also be armor coming down on such persons. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yes. Out of to serve as deterrent to others.
I don't want to sound like, just like you mentioned, working with statistics, but from the police, they said about 781 persons were arrested for electoral violence across the country. So for this 781, how do Nigerians get to see the prosecution of their cases to its last end, to say, if you are caught on election day or found wanting for electoral violence, this will happen to you. We don't get to hear more after all of this.
Okay, let me take it from this first. I keep making bold statements about my physique, that I'm quite tall as a woman. And I think it was parental influence. My father was too afraid of my choice of saying that I would like to be a military personnel. But I work closely with them. I love what they do. I appreciate their effort all of the time to ensure that there is security of life and property everywhere in the country. Now, let me let you know that most of the time, you know the beginning of some of these inquiries. Now, the reason I delved into that military thing or the security personnel thing is because I'm not the IG. I'm not a police officer. I do not serve in that capacity. But I'll let you know that if inquiries are made, if you take a visit to where they are and check the stations to find out, oh, this happened at XYZ place, what is happening to the culprits, and they'll tell you, contrary to what you heard, that the men who were found wanting had been released. These are the men. Now that's a problem in Nigeria. That's a problem with some of our Gen Z folks. They start the update. They start the noise. Let me put it as noise. They start all of the complaints and bring it up. And that's why I mentioned earlier that we should quit cretching.
But they don't follow. Also have the responsibility to communicate their actions to the people. Because if you want to make people serve as scapegoats or deterrent to others, definitely you need to allow people, Nigerians, an ordinary woman who has to go to a shop in the morning would not have the luxury to say, we're going to the police station to find out all of this.
Okay, but because of technology,
can you think of in terms of how these institutions, carry out their actions by giving Nigerians blow-to-blow account of all of these things?
Okay, because of the improvement in technology now, I'm aware that all of the security platforms we have, they have online platforms where you can actually go to find out, make inquiries, make your submissions, and find out what exactly is happening. Right now we're in Akure, but we can go on the internet, for instance, to find out or make inquiries about a particular situation in Lagos. So I believe they have the portals, but I can't delve into that because I'm a bloody civilian. I do not work with.
Okay, thank God you have blood. So let's push this conversation forward, Flora. Some of the things too.
As much as I want to agree with you on the issue of Lagos State and the most of the incorrect videos that we saw that day we also saw some videos, not the ones showing their faces now, the ones that showed what was going on at this polling unit. I saw one where even the security agents were the ones cutting away the boxes with some thugs, and people were screaming, they're taking it away. Now I saw one where in the morning was like when they want to make public announcements at night. I remember growing up, you hear them with guns. Yes, okay. This was gathered in the morning, they were shouting, if you would not vote for a particular party, don't come out, and all of that. Now, even one made a bold statement, which the police said was a joke. And I wanted to, I don't want to have an opinion on that, but that joke was taken too far, because even when they wanted to debunk it, they made up a funny drama with one woman that says, but the question is, the woman was not there when that statement was made. It was not at her shop that the statement was made, but I'm not trying to hang anybody there. But what I'm saying is, we saw these videos. This is, I don't know, I want to call it a discouragement to the electoral process. But while you are saying it's those things most of the time where people making up, what do you say about these ones? Because I'm sure you saw them.
Okay, Flora, in all of those examples, I'll just speak about the woman who was involved in that video that you mentioned. Drama was put together. And that takes me back to my first advice to women, that we should work better on our mindset. We should work better. I'm in the studios this morning with you, and it's possible for some people to ask you questions. Oh, she kept on talking about her height. Is she truly tall? Are you sure she wasn't standing or something? And all of that. So it wasn't really a drama. It might not be a drama. You know why? You weren't in the picture. You were not there. There are instances where, and that's why you see for policemen, they know what they're doing and they know what to do per time. Do not forget that on this particular issue, the State Commissioner of Police came up to debunk it, to explain, to give us a clear picture of what happened. But you still have this mindset, as at 5th April, throughout that it was drama. Yes, we need a lot of convincing. I need a lot of convincing you.
How do you come to a polling unit to tell people don't vote for this party or that party? If you don't want to vote, you go home. That's a joke.
Okay, but you see, now you're talking about that particular party whose agent or whose how do I put it now? One of the electorate said that. What happened to other parties?
I'm not talking about just a particular political party.
Yes.
You made an assertion, which was that you see videos where people only make a headshot.
Yes, and
I was also giving you another example of something we also saw.
Yes.
I would have thought that security agencies picking them up. It was a joke. If you keep telling people it was a joke, other people could start making such jokes too. Don't you think so?
And when they make such jokes, they'll go through the same process that corporate, that person you're referring to, has definitely, not probably, he definitely would have gone through that process before a second. He is putting his integrity in place doing that. He has a lot at stake. And so he's putting his job on the line. He's putting his integrity to play. And so he won't joke with his job just because he wants to please some set of people. You know, so life, I keep saying this, your perception isn't, it doesn't automatically mean it is true or it's correct. So most of these are just our opinion and the angle at which you're looking at it.
All right, ma'am, let's try to coast home with this final ones that we'll try to get your thoughts on. Today, governors of the APC will meet, and part of the feelers we are hearing is have a conversation about who gets what at the National Assembly. We've talked about the composition of the National Assembly, how monotonous some sort it is heading into their inauguration, but that conversation is also taking place among the governors, and this is politics.
Yeah.
What's your thought about how their influence could also perhaps affect the run-ins in the National Assembly when you put it side by side by what we want our democracy to be like?
Okay, a stranger will not run my home. I can't run your home. You can't run Flora's home. It's their home. This is democracy. Some people have to step forward as leaders to take decisions. They have to rub minds. And that's why I keep mentioning our mindset about some of this. We're so opinionated, and it shouldn't always tilt to the negative. What they intend to do, the meeting they want to have, the conversations they will have, is primarily how to make things better. It's how to ensure that the general populace in Nigeria feel a new lease of life in this new government. And so for how long are we going to be throwing shades? For how long are we going to be castigating them? For how long are we going to keep assuming what we do not even know? I've made an example before publicly where I said some of the inhibitors we have for women is the fact that we are this gender that are subtle and romantic. If I have a meeting, for instance, with my party with the state chairman of my party, and we're held up at that meeting, we're just about 3 of us, the chairman, maybe one of his associates and I, and the meeting crawled into the night around 2 a.m. and the state party chairman's wife drives into the office to come check on the welfare of her husband. And the only person or maybe the third party, the third member of that meeting has even gone into the washroom, and the woman steps in to find me in that office at that time of the night. Trust me, she's going to forget about, oh, this is about politics, this is about governance, this is about improving the condition of what we have in the state. She's only going to, even if she doesn't say it, and that's the thing about women, we have mannerisms, even if she's not going to allege that, oh, this is what I think, she would have some look that will make me know, princess, let this be your last one.
I got my eyes on you.
Yeah.
54 days, let's just close with this. 54 days to inauguration. I wouldn't know if we'll have you within that space of time to also talk about this, but let's just get your thoughts. The leadership's headline is that Tinubu is head-hunting or head-hunts for best brains, competence for appointment.
Yes.
What would be that charge or that task that you want